Hi, we're great. That's what my producer told me to tell you. And that's why you should subscribe to the Raging Moderates YouTube channel. We're growing pretty quickly, I've heard from some of my podcasting friends, but would obviously love to have more of you on the subscription rolls so that you know when a new video comes out. And as always, the feedback is very welcome, reading the comments. And yeah, I hope you hang around. Now here's my conversation with Marc Elias. Welcome to Raging Moderates. I'm Jessica Tarlov, and today I'm joined by Marc Elias, founder of Democracy Docket, and the perfect person to have today. Marc, thank you so much for coming back.
Thank you for having me.
Total pleasure. And also, I'm in need of help and explanations of what's going on because what I formulated in my head is so scary. And maybe you'll tell me that it's not as bad as I think, but I worry that that isn't the case. I want to start with what seems like a straight up politicization of the DOJ. So the announcement that there's an investigation into George Soros's foundation, and also that we are going to be getting an indictment for James Comey in the coming days from the Eastern District of Virginia, where Donald Trump pushed out Eric Siebert, who even had the support of Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche, for Lindsay Halligan, who I believe has never been a prosecutor before, right?
That is correct.
So there's a clip I want to play of Donald Trump talking about Comey a little while ago in the Oval.
Mr. President, it seems like an indictment of James Comey is imminent. Would this be the first step in accountability for pushing the hoax of Russia, along with Barack Obama involved as well?
Well, I can't tell you what's going to happen because I don't know. You have very professional people headed up by the Attorney General and Todd Blanche and Lindsay Halligan, who's very smart, good lawyer, very good lawyer. They're going to make a determination. I'm not making that determination. I think I'd be allowed to get involved if I want, but I don't really choose to do so. I can only say that Comey's a bad person. He's a sick person. I think he's a sick guy, actually. He did terrible things at the FBI. And but I don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen.
So he could get involved, but he won't. But he already did because he posted about it. What's your takeaway?
Look, we have been watching the weaponization of government from the moment he took office. And by the way, he told us in advance that he was going to do these things, and too many people dismissed them. And here we are. You know, let's rewind the tape a little bit. We have seen a Democratic congresswoman from New Jersey, LaMonica MacIver, has been indicted for conducting routine inspections and oversight of ICE facilities, which is her right and obligation under federal law. Like specifically, there's a federal law that says that members of Congress have a right to do that. We saw Senator Padilla, manhandled for trying to ask a question of Secretary of HHS. We have seen John Bolton. I'm no fan of John Bolton's, but we've seen him be investigated and his house raided as part of the weaponization of government. We have seen, as you say, Comey, but not just Comey, also the Attorney General of New York, Letitia James. He has weaponized the Department of Justice again. So we're watching this over and over and over again. And it is time that we take Donald Trump not just seriously, as we were told to, but also literally. When Donald Trump tells Pam, to go after these people, like, of course they're going after these people because they take him literally as well as seriously. So this weaponization of government is going to continue. It's going to continue to escalate. We're going to see more people become victimized by it. And it is important that everybody be both clear-eyed about that fact, about what we are witnessing, but also become braver and more courageous in speaking out against it.
It does feel like people are finding their voice a bit more than the last time we spoke. You were here about 6 months ago, and I think people were a bit on their Trump training wheels, trying to figure out what this administration was going to look like. And now everyone is in, full-blown fear. What are the recourses? I mean, he gets indicted. He's supposed to go before a grand jury. I assume you think that they will push it forward and they'll get through the grand jury, or is that not the case?
Look, I think that you always have to give the odds to the federal prosecutor when it comes to getting an indictment. Like we have seen in recent days or recent weeks, I guess, some grand juries in Washington, D.C. who have refused to return indictments, given return no bills. So it's not impossible. But I think everyone needs to understand that unlike a criminal trial where it's proof beyond a reasonable doubt, where the defendant gets to put on evidence, that there are rules of what's admissible, the grand jury is entirely under the province of the prosecutors, and they get to select what evidence gets put before it. They are not bound by the same rules of evidence, and they don't even need, by the way, a unanimous vote of the grand jury. They just need a majority. So you always have to assume that if you have a motivated U.S. Attorney's Office to get a grand jury to return an indictment, that the odds are they will.
So that doesn't bode well. And I imagine Jim Comey and Letitia James are not sleeping particularly well at this moment, especially with how the courts have been stacked against them. I want to touch on something else. What's going on right now with Congresswoman and gubernatorial candidate Mikie Sherrill, who you represent. It appears the National Archives have released the entirety of her personal Navy file to her opponent in the New Jersey governorship race. Jack Ciattarelli, can you give us more color on what's going on there?
Look, this should be a national scandal. I mean, I realize there are lots of national scandals, but I go pretty far back with these kinds of issues. I represented Senator Kerry in the 2004 presidential election when he, as a highly decorated veteran, was constantly maligned, and efforts to obtain his military record were part of the Republican playbook. And we have seen this over and over again, where Republicans want to both invade our privacy. They want to weaponize people's service against them. And it is time that the American people stand up and say enough is enough. And I don't think it is any coincidence that this is being done by a National Archives that is under the control of Donald Trump. I mean, we have watched as agency after agency has either flouted the law or bent its will, bent its process and procedures to meet what it assumes is Donald Trump's preference. And the voters of New Jersey need to recognize that this is a race between a woman who will fight for people in New Jersey and a man who is simply, trying to do the bidding of Donald Trump. And so here we are in the final days before the election. We're seeing this kind of dirty tricks or whatever it is. But it is something that, sometime back you might think that, some Republican would denounce it. Some military veteran would say enough. Some former Navy official who's a Republican would speak out, but they're all either cowards or true believers in Donald Trump. And either way, they should be ashamed of themselves.
You've now said twice that the American people need to find their voice and they need to speak out. What does that look like for you? I mean, how would that be successfully done? Obviously, people are going to go vote on November 5th in Virginia and in New Jersey. But beyond that, what is that to you?
Yeah. So look, I think one of the things that we all need to realize is that Donald Trump wants us to believe that we are all powerless. He wants us to believe that he is all powerful, that the courts won't stop him, that nothing can stop him, and that there's no point in speaking out against him. He also, by the way, wants to make you fearful that if you express public dissent, you maybe get in some kind of trouble. And he has extended that apparently to late night comics. But the truth is, Donald Trump is thin-skinned. Donald Trump, like most authoritarian wannabes, cares deeply about what the public thinks about him. And the whole notion that Trump always chickens out, which has more truth than not, is almost always the result of people standing up to him and him thinking he's going to get bad press. Why aren't the troops in Chicago? The troops aren't in Chicago because Trump always chickens out, because J.B. Pritzker, rather than recede, rather than compromise, rather than say, you know what, let's try to find a way out of this, he stood up strong and tall and he held press conferences. And that made Donald Trump, I think, less eager to pick that fight and instead went to a red state. I think if we saw Americans using their voices, whether it's on social media, around their dinner tables, at their local diners, or in their clubs and bowling leagues, I think we would see Donald Trump act differently. I think if we saw protests peacefully in the street, it would be differently. I think if we saw people organizing and standing up against what he's doing and calling it out for being wrong, I think we would see Donald Trump back away, because he has a desperate hole in him that needs to be liked.
Yes. And the emperor has no clothes, which was the most fitting description when I had Hillary Clinton on. That's what she said. You mentioned Kimmel. He is back for now. Great ratings at the moment. Do you think that Donald Trump continues this fight with ABC, or he chickens out and backs away from it.
Oh, no, I think he's definitely going to pick this fight further. I mean, look, let's be clear about ABC. I mean, ABC is a recidivist here. ABC paid $16 million to settle a claim against George Stephanopoulos, who is among their most prominent, figures in the news division. They fired Terry Moran for, I think, saying that Stephen Miller was a terrible person, as I recall what it was. And then, of course, they did this thing with Kimmel. Like, what about that behavior would, if you were Donald Trump, think that you cannot continue to bully them? All of these large organizations, they will learn that Donald Trump doesn't keep his end of the deal. Like, you think you have made peace and he just goes further. Honestly, it's the Wall Street Journal who I think won't get sued again. Like, it is the Wall Street Journal and its parent companies or whatever, whatever that media conglomerate is. That
Never heard of it.
It's probably in the best stead because Donald Trump doesn't want to fight with someone who's going to put up a fight. And so of course, is he going to go back? If you're him, are you going to go back after the Wall Street Journal, or are you going to go back after ABC News? Are you going to go back after the Wall Street Journal, or are you going to go after CBS again? Like, he always picks the fight with the folks who themselves won't stand up.
Opponent.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, the fight that is oncoming, it seems like, is about the shutdown. And there's reporting that they are planning mass firings. And the Washington Post just broke the story that Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth is calling all of the top military command to a base in Virginia next week. Hasn't said what that's about. But people are concerned that there is going to be mass firings there as well. Do you think that the government shuts down? And what are you concerned about if it does?
Look, I assume the government does shut down. I think that, Donald Trump wants a government shutdown because he thinks it makes him look powerful. So I think he will shut down the government. I think that he will use it as a pretext to close more departments, fire more people, fire generals, whatever it is. But we all need to be clear, it's just a pretext. Like, he's been firing generals before this. He's been firing admirals before this. He has been, DOJ was about, undermining the operation of key parts of the federal government. He has been firing heads of independent agencies. He has been disregarding the civil service laws. Like, this is not a guy who is constrained anyway. So will he use this as a pretext to somehow claim that Democrats are to blame for this? Sure. Donald Trump is always finding a pretext to blame. I mean, the clip you just showed him in the Oval Office, which, by the way, seems to be getting more faux gold. Literally, I guess I don't follow the Oval Office addresses enough. Is there always that much behind him?
No, he did a refurb, and Scott Galloway, who I do the pod with, had a great line, because I said Liberace, and he said Iraqi whorehouse, which I think really hit it. Like the nail on the head there. But yeah, no, he's done a refurb. Like, it's a private club with the Rose Garden deck where you can get your chicken fingers and an Aperol spritz.
But it's like a really tacky private club.
Well, he has bad taste. That's the thing that so upsets me. I'm like, I wouldn't be for it because I believe in history and all the things, but like, it's so gaudy and cheap.
Yeah, it is.
And paid for by donors.
The best line ever about Donald Trump was from the writers of Spy Magazine, which was a humor magazine in the 1980s. It was very New York centric, and they referred to Donald Trump as a short-fingered vulgarian. And I think that is, in fact, correct on all regards.
I think that's a perfect note to end on. Marc Elias, thank you for joining me. Everyone subscribe to Democracy Docket. It is invaluable, and I so appreciate you coming back.
Thank you for having me.